So you're looking for a warpike build that's wound centric, but is both good for solo and group play and has some flexibility for gauntlet. Well, I've got the build for you. Let's go ahead and look at it. For the weapon, we're going with Chronovore's warpike. This is going to give you that self-res, which is useful both in group and solo play. For the cells on this, we're going with the Relentless cell and a +3 Savagery cell. For the special, I'm personally using Savage Wellspring. This is a 30% critical strike chance bonus for 10 seconds for everybody in the circle around you while you have it active. Now you can switch this out for any of the other specials depending on your play style. For the mod, we're going with Executioner Spearhead. Each time you wound or assist in wounding a behemoth part, you gain 8% damage for 45 seconds, and this stacks up to 5 times. This is essential to the build, as this build is going to focus very heavily on getting those wounds in and fast. And for the bond, we're going to be using the Spire of Dawn or Rezakiri's warpike. This is going to give you a chance on hit to attack multiple times, which will help those wounds come in even faster. For the Omni Cell, I'm personally using Tempest on this build for the passive attack speed bonus, but this build is very flexible. If you want, you can switch out your Lantern for Skarn's Lantern and run Discipline or Revenant. If you want something with more sustainability, you can easily slot in Iceborne. Tempest isn't essential to this build. This build is not themed around Tempest. I just personally like having that extra 10% attack speed on this build. For the Lantern, I'm using Pangar Shrine. I personally do not recommend running this build with Shrike's Zill, as that will probably put you over the attack speed limit for Warpike when you're using the wound attack, occasionally causing you to miss attacks altogether because of having too much attack speed. If you want more survivability, or if you're running Revenant or Discipline, I would recommend switching this over to Skarn's. You can pretty much run whatever Lantern you want. Shrike's is the only one I would avoid in this case. For the cell, we're going to be using a +3 reuse on this. We're only going to +3 reuse on this build because this is not going to be focused on getting the +6 reuse for group play, but having a chance of also buffing your party, but more so just to get you that 10% fixed attack speed bonus from the part breaks. For the helmet, we're going to be using Thrax's Scream. This is going to give you a +3 catalyst, and we're also putting a +3 catalyst in this, giving us a +6 catalyst. Unfortunately, the way we're building this one is going to be a tonic focused build, because it's going to really help with those extra wounds without causing you to sacrifice part damage to run acidic. For the chest, we're going to be using Quill Shot's Jacket. This is going to give us +3 Savagery, and then we're going to pop a +3 Pulse Cell into that. For the gloves, we're using Bladed Gloves. This gives us +3 Resilience, and we're going to pop in an Assassin's Frenzy cell into that, giving us that +3 Assassin's Frenzy. And then for the boots, we're going with good old Thrax's Guile. This is giving us +3 Cunning, and we're putting +3 Pulse into this. For the tonic breakdown, we're running Blitz Tonic, Frenzy Tonic, and Insight Tonic. Now, if you're running Discipline or Revenant with this build and the Skarn Lantern, I would recommend switching one of these tonics out for the Overdrive Tonic, and that's totally up to you which one you switch out. I would probably recommend switching out the Frenzy or the Blitz Tonic if you still want to focus on the wound damage to get those big ether rushes up and keep them up with the Relentless. Our first perk is +6 Catalyst. This is giving us both 60% effectiveness of our tonics and 60% tonic duration. This works really well with the Insight Tonic and the Blitz Tonic on this build, and I highly recommend running it this way. If you do want to change this up, you can change out your catalyst that is in the helmet for a +3 reuse. That would give you +6 reuse, and this is an option for group play. You would still get the 30% tonic effectiveness from the +6 catalyst, which would help get a wound off early with the Insight Tonic, but make your other tonics not quite as useful. If you're running Gauntlet and you're just in the grind content, but you want to get those wounds in fast, I would recommend that change. Our next perk is +6 Cunning. This is giving us +10% critical strike chance and +30% to our critical strike damage. This synergizes really well with Pulse and with the rapid attack speed that is inherent with the Warpike, especially when you're playing Wounding Warpike. Our next perk is +6 Pulse. Every 5th attack of your weapon is a critical strike, and you get +15% critical strike damage. This works really well with the light attacks on Warpike, especially when you're going in for the wounds. Next, we have +6 Relentless. This increases the duration of our Ether Rush by 50% and increases the effect of your Ether Rush by 100%. When you wound a behemoth, you get Ether Rush, or when you do 1500 damage to a wounded part, you get Ether Rush. Ether Rush gives you a +15% across the board buff to attack speed, movement speed, stamina regeneration, and damage. This is effectively making that a 30% bonus and increasing the time from, I believe, 30 seconds up to 45 seconds. This works really good with a wounding build, and I highly recommend giving this a shot. Our next perk is +6 savagery. This gives us a 100% damage bonus versus wounded parts. What I recommend doing is getting one side of the behemoth wounded up and then switching over to your heavy attacks to take advantage of the damage bonus from savagery. Once a couple of parts or the wounds have fallen off on that side, switch over to the other side of the behemoth and start wounding that side of the behemoth. Our next perk is +3 Assassin's Frenzy. This is going to give us a 15% attack speed bonus for 20 seconds when we break or assist in breaking a behemoth's part. Ideally, your party is going to be going after the parts you wounded, which is going to mean you're going to be getting those assists and the attack speed bonus to help wound the other side of the behemoth even faster. And for our last perk, we have +3 Reuse. Breaking or assisting in breaking a behemoth's part has a 30% chance to grant all allies 20% increased attack speed for 30 seconds, or you 10% attack speed for 30 seconds if you don't get that 30% chance bonus on it. One of the changes you can also make to this build is switching out the Chrono weapon for Thrax's weapon, which would increase your overall damage but might slow you down on wounding. If you do make that change, I would switch out the boots for Chrono treads. That's going to give you pulse on the boots and allow you to keep the +6 pulse. By doing so, you can drop the +6 cunning and switch your Assassin's Frenzy and your reuse both to +6. If you do that and you're playing in a group play environment or even outside of a group play environment, I would recommend putting in a reduce cell into the weapon. It'll slow down your attack speed some, but also increase your damage even more on top of the stacking damage bonus you are going to be getting from the Thrax's weapon. If you do run Thrax's weapon, of course, you're going to be bonding that to Rift Stalker's warpike. I've been having a lot of fun with this build and playing around with different variations of this build. This is the variation that I decided worked best for the average player, and that's why I'm showing you guys this version of the build. This gives you some survivability with the Chrono self-res. It also gives you some faster wounding because of the chance on double attack with the weapon, and gives you a good base to kind of make the build your own. I will be posting links in the video description for both this version of the build and the version of the build running with the Thrax warpike to give you some playstyle options if you want to go more damage, less survivability. I would have really liked to include more of the Season 2 Gauntlet cells in this build, but warpike really doesn't benefit much, if at all, from recycle, because unfortunately with the light attack combo you use for wounding, your tendency to hit another part is very, very, very high, which is both a benefit to the warpike and a hindrance because you could get wound damage on more than one part at a time, but unfortunately it makes recycle pretty much useless with warpike. And when you're using your heavy attack combo, you're pretty much guaranteed to hit 2 parts, so it's very difficult to play with recycle in this build. Reuse works really well with it, and reduce works in some scenarios depending on how you're building this build. If you guys haven't seen already, I have been streaming Wild Hearts on this channel lately. I will be making content for both Dauntless and Wild Hearts moving forward. I have been really enjoying the game. If you guys are interested in playing another or checking out another monster hunting genre game that isn't Monster Hunter, come swing by one of the streams sometime and take a look at the game. It's very, very in-depth, and it has more layers than I thought it was going to have, and I've been really enjoying the game. That being said, we are still recruiting for our Dauntless guild, and we have a few more slots available. If anybody's interested in that, you guys can check the video description for my social link, which will include a link to the Discord to join the guild. And if you're a newer Dauntless player, I will have a useful tips and tricks video up in this corner right about now, and I will see you guys in the next video.